get more from David Smith in Johannesburg now. He's an expert on the conflict. Before we move on to the broader issues, Mr. Smith, can you tell us anything about this latest incident, the jailbreak, and if that's significant in your view?
No, of course it's significant. It's a sign that really nobody's in control in the capital Bangui or elsewhere in the country for that matter. We have to remember that the country has no functioning army and no functioning police force, no functioning gendarmerie. So when any of the heavily armed rebel groups, and in this case it's the anti-Balaka that's close to ousted President Francois Bozize, tries to take control or get involved in any sort of violent activity, they come across little resistance unless they happen to run into a patrol from the French military Sangaris force or the United Nations peacekeeping forces who are part of the MINUSCA mission.
European Union, African Union, the United States are all involved in peacekeeping efforts there. Do you think they're making any difference? Well,
if we have a lot of time, I was part of a UN peacekeeping mission back in the 1990s, and since the 1990s there have been 7 or 8 peacekeeping missions subsequent to that one, which was known as MINURCA. Part of the problem is peacekeeping missions keep being deployed in the Central African Republic, whether under the Organization of the United Nations, the African Union, or in some cases regional peacekeeping efforts by a local organization called ECAS. And in all cases, they tend to end in failure, because what they're trying to do is bring some sort of stability to the country, but they're not addressing the root causes of the problem in the Central African Republic. Basically, it's a country without the tools that most states have. It doesn't have a functioning army, it doesn't have a functioning police force, a functioning education system, a functioning health system. Basically, whoever's in power in the Central African Republic, whether it be the transitional president who's there right now, Catherine Samba-Panza, or any of the people before her, and possibly the people who come after her, they don't have the tools of a governing state to work with. To become the president of the Central African Republic amounts to not much more than a license to loot. Whoever's in charge of the country usually isn't really in charge of a country at all. Their influence doesn't usually extend beyond the capital city, Bangui. Beyond there, in an area that's the size of France and Belgium combined, it's whoever has the most powerful gun or the most machete at his disposal who's in charge.
What does this lack of a system mean for the presidential elections we're going to have in October? Just briefly, please.
Well, I don't think there are going to be presidential elections in October. I think they're going to be delayed because of the current violence, because they haven't finished putting together the voters list. When the elections actually do happen, I think they'll be flawed, but they'll be an important step in getting somebody in charge who at least the people of the Central African Republic have voted for. And that's what they need, somebody that the people of that country can say they put in place to lead them.
David Smith in Johannesburg, thank you for your analysis.